everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, I'm Aubrey Stevens, and you should click that subscribe button below and join the fam. And in today's video, I'm doing something a little bit different. I thought it'd be fun and helpful to do a video on how to increase your SAT score to above a 1500. So I personally got a 1530 on my SAT the second time I took it. And this was without any studying or practice or anything like that. So I thought that I'd share with you my tips and tricks to get a really high score on your SAT. So a little bit of backstory on me. So the first time I took the SAT was in December. I got a 1400 my first time, and I did study and prep a little bit for my first time taking it. And then I decided to take it again in April. So the second time that I took it, I ended up getting a 1530, and I had done no studying, no preparation or anything to increase my score from a 1400 to a 1530, which was pretty insane, but I did it all through some amazing tips and tricks that I figured out myself and found online and that sort of thing, so I thought that I would share that with you guys. I also forgot to mention what I got specifically for scores on different sections. So I personally got a 740 on the reading writing section and a 790 on the math section. So I'm going to start out with the more general tips and tricks that apply to the whole test, as well as any other tests that you take, whether standardized or in school. So I'm one of those annoying students who never studies for tests and always gets really good scores on them. And this is one of the big reasons why, and also why I was able to get a 1530 on the SAT, which if you don't know is in the 99th percentile, which is pretty crazy. And once you get above a 1520, then most schools don't really care what you get above that because you're in the top 1%. And that's ideal for trying to get into any Ivy Leagues or any other schools. My first tip or trick is process of elimination. You've probably heard this a million times before, but the reality is that there's a special way to do this. You can't just do process of elimination. There's specific ways to go through the answers and get rid of ones. And by doing this, you will increase your SAT score and also any other tests you take. It is so helpful. I'm going to go through and tell you how to eliminate answers. So the first way to eliminate answers is to see if the answers pertain to the question. Sometimes there will be a really weird answer thrown in that doesn't relate to the question at all, and so if that happens, she canceled. No, don't answer that. Get rid of that. And then the second one is if the answers line up to the passage or whatever is written above. It says something that is not in the passage or the question, then she canceled. She not an answer. Don't answer that. And then also it's important to look at how specific the answer is. This may seem like kind of a weird way to eliminate, but trust me, it will help you so much. So if you see an answer that is very broad, it's asking you for the theme of the passage and it just says something like joy, then chances are that's not the answer. That's way too broad. It can apply to anything. So this works conversely as well if the answer is extremely specific, if it asks for the theme of the passage and one of the answers is the little girl's hair clip. That's not the answer. She canceled. No, don't answer that. So there's kind of this middle ground where the answer will be in, at least, if that makes sense. So you don't want anything that's extremely broad or extremely specific. You want something in the middle. And chances are the one in the middle will be correct pretty much every time. So those are my tips on process of elimination. Hopefully that's more helpful than just what books and stuff say. Just use process of elimination. That's not really helpful at all. But those are my tips on how to eliminate answers. My next big general tip is to skip questions you don't know. This may seem a little bit counterintuitive, but trust me, it will help you so much. So basically, when you're going through the test, there will be questions you don't know. It's like that for everyone. For me, for everyone else. So what you want to do is circle that question and come back to it at the end if you have time. So you might be worrying about running out of time if you do this, but the reality of it is, if you dwell on that question, you're going to suck up a lot of time that could be spent working on other questions. And you are more likely to get the other questions right than that one you have no idea what the answer to is. So skip it and come back to it at the end. And if you don't have time at the end, just answer C. And this might seem a little random too. I don't just like the letter C. C is statistically more likely to be the correct answer. Very slightly, by like 2%. But still, just answer C if you have no idea and you run out of time. But hopefully process of elimination would let you narrow it down to a couple choices, so that would increase your likelihood of getting it correct. And also, skipping questions has another benefit. So specifically more for like the reading writing sections as well, if you skip a question, sometimes a later question will answer the earlier question. This happens most of all in like passages, so it's helpful in a lot of instances, and I think it'll really benefit you on the SAT. For the reading section specifically, my biggest tip is to read the entire passage and then read the questions and answer them. This is largely because a fair chunk of the questions usually focus on the passage as a whole. So it's very important for you to read the passage, get a good understanding of it, make sure to annotate the passage. This will help you a lot. And by annotate, I don't mean the full like, oh my gosh, you have to write every little thing. I mean more underline important things within the passage. This will help you a lot. And trust me, the first time I took the SAT, I did not read the whole passage and then read the questions. I read the questions first and then read the passage. And I did decently on the reading section, but not like great. I increased my score about 40 points when I took it the second time by reading the passage first and then doing the questions. For the writing section, my biggest tip is to not just read the little chunk where it's asking you the question about, like to include a comma or whatever. Read at least the full sentence. That way you get a better idea of what it's asking for and what you need to put in there to make it grammatically sound. And ideally read that sentence as well as a couple before and a couple after, and this will give you an even bigger picture and allow you to make the sentence better, if that makes sense. Then my biggest tip for the math section is to go through the math section really quickly. This may sound a little bit stupid and you're like, but Aubrey, I'm going to make so many mistakes. And the benefit of doing this is you go through it, you answer everything that you know, do it quickly, and then you have time to go through and check every answer. And this will help you so much because no matter how hard we try, we all make mathematical errors. It happens to everyone. And don't forget, I got a 790 in the math section, so this really worked for me. I'm not saying it'll necessarily work great for you, but it's what worked for me and it will hopefully help you as well. I personally went through the math section in about half of the allotted time, and then I spent the rest of the time going through the math section, double checking my work. And then that allowed me to get an almost perfect score in the math section. So I'm extremely fast at math. I'm a few years ahead in math and all that stuff, so you might not necessarily be able to do this, but try your best to go through it pretty quickly and then give yourself a little bit of time to check your work. That will help you a lot and will increase your score a lot. That's my biggest tip for the math section. And basically, my biggest tip of all, again, for the whole test is be confident in yourself. It sounds stereotypical, sounds cliche, but it's really true. You will not do well on the test if you are not confident in yourself and you don't trust your answers. You need to believe yourself. You will do great. And even if you don't believe in yourself, I believe in you. You can do it. So yeah, just trust yourself. You'll do great. And don't forget, it's the SAT. You can take it as many times as you need to get the score that you would like. Again, I believe in you. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like it and subscribe to my channel below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.